Orogomi ye, orogomi yesa, orogomi ye, orogomi yesa, wadiba soruko, yege ulude, basi soruko.
Notice things like drumming, and he spoke about the hoda, which is a circle of people. You're going to see some of that in Candomblé. I can't speak for Santeria, although I did see some Santeros and Santeras in Cuba, but they didn't have the same display, circular display going on. So, and I'm not here to make Brazilians Latino. No, that's not my job. You know, they are what they are, and they know. But I'm here to discuss possible links, possible similarities. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Let me show you. And by the way, who in here knows anyone from Brazil? Where you talked about business. But do they ever tell you about the culture down in Brazil? No. Okay, strictly business. Well, that's pretty much the same all around the world, I imagine. Yeah. No one else? Oh, okay.
Oh, I was going to say Nellie has a classmate named Lorenzo who's...
Is he from Brazil?
Well, I guess his
his parents from Brazil?
I think his parents are
Right.
from Brazil.
From what I understand, there's a fair-sized community not too far from us, in Long Branch in particular. I don't know any of the folks because I would definitely come in. You know? Latinos a little bit more prolific for me and probably for a lot of you. I know when I was a child, the only Latinos I knew at that time were Puerto Rican. I didn't know, I knew that there was something with the Dominican Republic. I knew there was a Cuba, but I didn't know any Cubans. They're here now, and then the rest of the South was the border Latinos. Mexico was taking up most of what we know to be the continental United States. You know, but the reason I start with the Iberian Peninsula is because whether Brazilians are Latino or not, where their ancestors come from. What language do they speak in Brazil? They ain't speaking Spanish. Well, there are people who speak Spanish, but the national language of Brazil, Portuguese. The rest of South America, Central America, Mexico, the 3 countries in the Caribbean all speak Spanish. You saw it. Is Spain somewhere else than Portugal? Never was. Even when they weren't called that. It was just a bunch of kingdoms and principalities. Principalities. Go get your pack. Don't come in here without that pack.
I go up this job.
This is why I showed the progression of the Iberian Peninsula. It went deeper than this, but we need to think about these things when we look and talk to the people who we, are our contemporaries. It's not just Brazil, it goes further than that. And how is Brazil similar? What type of connection? Native Spanish-speaking people, in other words, they were born and raised speaking Spanish, have told me, only a couple, and I have one here who may not have been born speaking Spanish, but well, I was told, and you tell me if this is correct, I was told that Portuguese, the Spanish-speaking people could understand the Portuguese-speaking people almost better than the Italians. And I thought it would be the other way around, because I only know some Italian words. They look like Spanish, but once again, they're all Latin-based languages. You have Spanish, you have Portuguese, and you have a number of others. But these are of Spanish languages, you can see how the Spanish language grew out of the Latin language. You can see, although we don't do it anymore, except in the scientific community, botany, and some of the other places. That's probably it for Latin, unless you're Roman Catholic. I don't know if they're still, they still do the Mass, but from what I understand, they used to do the Mass in Latin. Okay? But I don't know if they're doing it anymore.
Some places.
Some places do, see? But for the most part, nobody goes to Latin. Ask the average 16-year-old, hey, you know what Latin is? And, you know, maybe they'll know their parent or their grandparent.
Do they offer it school anymore?
They say, oh, you're talking about the dance. I said, no, we ain't talking about dance. No, I'm talking about the language.
Do they offer it anymore?
I don't know, that's true.
They used to, yeah. I remember.
Some of us in here, you know, we weren't in the finer school districts of America. But we're in decent school districts. Yeah, they were still offering Latin.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do. That's why I'd love to have some young people here, so I can ask them these questions. You know, they tell me. I was speaking to one young lady out here who was tutoring, and I was asking her, I showed her this and told her that I'm doing a presentation on Latino History Month, and it's about Brazil and how it may relate to the Latin culture. I said, are you learning anything about Latino culture or Hispanic culture in school? I said, what about African American? She's like, I said, did you hear me? Yeah, I heard. Oh, okay. So I got my answer. I mean, if she was, I think she probably would say, yeah. You have that. Matter of fact, I would say stop talking about that. You know? But I don't think it's being taught. History is not being taught. And the importance of history, in my mind, some of you may debate this with me, but if you don't understand some history, you don't have to be a historian, but some history and progression in time of humanity, well then you fall for pretty much anything. Because you won't know. Even your own personal history, your family, just you, just your family. Most of us can only go back about, what, maybe 3 to 4 generations. If we're fortunate, maybe 5. Yeah, we know our mom and dad. We know our grandparents. And we may have heard of the great-grandparents. And, well, in my generation now, you know, we've lived long enough as great-grandparents. I don't know if I'm going to make it. That's all right with me. But at any rate, you know, some of us are 70, 80 years old or so. We're great-grandparents. You know, how much have you know, especially as a child, you know, oh, that's great, man, you know, who pop up and, you know, all that. But did you ever talk to them? Did the grandparent, the great-grandparent, impart any knowledge about time to you? Now, as a child, I know you probably, you know, but see, when they're gone, you had some personal history that could have been, and who could tell them better? But they couldn't read, they didn't finish school. Yeah, but they had a brain, and they knew the history. Who could tell them better? The academician or the person who lived? The academician will have a lot of information. They can correlate it to all that. But the person who lived it is going to give you some nuances that ain't in the book. So this is the importance of communication and all of that. Has been just diced and sliced up. That's geographically, but also mentally in the people. Once again, when I call back to Brazilians and Latinos. Okay, you Brazilians, y'all not Latinos. Okay, no problem. You speak Portuguese. Okay, they speak Spanish. I understand. But where are you? Where's Brazil? And by the way, what country spawned Brazil? And where was that? So once again, I go to the map. Not a lot, similar numbers. You know. So I'd like to know some of your feeling on this topic. Anything you have to say, any knowledge you can share, please share. Now's the time. I'm not here to entertain you. This is really, what I try to do here is I use the history months, the classic history months, which most young people under 25 may not even be aware of, you know. If we start off with the school year, of course, now, Hispanic or Latino history. Next month in November, we have, they call Native, they call Indigenous Americans, also First Nations. Okay, that's in November. Even though we had First Nations Celebration Day opposed to the Columbus Day celebration on the 9th. In February, of course, we have Black, African American, Afro-American history. March, we have Women's History. May, a newer one, Asian and Pacific Islander history. All of this is important because, and the perspective I come from, once again, you may disagree, but I try to come from a sort of African-centered perspective. Why? Well, like I always say, look at me. I'm not African, no. But we're told, number one, all of humanity, if you're human, your ancestors trace back to Africa. All right? Don't matter, this race thing is another boogaboo they threw in there to confuse everybody. And they did it well, carried on for hundreds of years. All right? But it's time for us to look into it.
I just wanted
Go ahead.
to make a statement, a comment rather, and just reiterate what you said, the importance of the communication within the family dynamic and the community because of the simple fact that it's been diluted and diced and sliced. And, you know, so I am 44 years old and I am ashamed that it was just this year I decided to ask my mother what my grandmother's profession was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I asked her that question, it made sense. I found out that she was a caregiver, and it made sense that I naturally was a caregiver, and then my children, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
asking the questions and one, the youth seeking knowledge, because that's what we're told to do.
Mm-hmm.
We have to seek the knowledge, but the elders need to impart the knowledge to us even when we don't ask, because it's important. Because our history has been taken and shaken up and tossed out like dice, you know what I'm saying? So the communication aspect is vital. And so, yeah, I definitely wanted to just make that point.
The time when we are all living in, it's not just happening down south, it's not just happening out in the west, okay? We're in a book banning, might as well be book burning.
Please.
They're getting rid of libraries, okay? It's been happening for a while, but it's stepping up. All right, so we don't, and that phone, that laptop, how many folks get tied to it? I have at least one in my family, but I get enticed into it as well. But we have to go beyond that. And it's a very powerful tool if you can get past social media, you know, because that's a walking and even talking encyclopedia, YouTube, Google. You can look up almost any topic. Now you gotta learn how to decipher it because there's a lot of stuff on it. But you got it now. You don't even have to come to the library anymore.
You gotta be careful with that as well, because Wikipedia, any one of us can go on Wikipedia and change and update it.
Right.
So it's the information that they want us to have.
Right.
So that's why it all boils down to talking to our people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That in-person communication, can't nobody take your knowledge from you. You can write whatever you want in a book and call it truth, that don't mean it's truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's all mind control.
Well, exactly.
But we can take control of our own
But we
minds.
need to
We can
take-
brainwash ourselves in a sense, in a positive way.
But you have to be aware of that fact.
Mhm.
A lot of people are walking around and not even aware that they're under mind control. That's the sad part of it.
Right.
Hence the need for communication, not only with the elderly people, with the young, but communication beyond, yo man, this is like, you see it? I mean, I'm not knocking sports, don't get me wrong. But too many of us males get hung up in that. We don't want to talk about nothing else. Other than the big butt booty running down the street or something like that. You know, we talk about that. Now, I'm sure that many of us will talk beyond that, but in the same respect, we get caught up in all this other stuff. How much can we trace a little history so that we can understand what's going on right now in the present? See that heart-shaped thing over there on the bottom, on a little easel? Sankofa. Everyone knows what Sankofa means? It means go and fetch it. What they're talking about is going to the past in order to understand the present. And by understanding those two, you can chart an intelligent course to the future. If you don't understand what's going on now, and you're eating a bunch of McDonald's and whatnot, I mean all the time I'm talking about, okay? And you just looking at the stories and the this and the that, and you never look at a documentary or a historical or cultural documentary, you're missing out. I know you got out of high school, you got out of college. Somebody told me a statistic on the people who, it's very small. Once people leave college or high school, it's rare that they read a book. Most of us.
That's scary.
Not because they can't read, but they don't read. And I'm one who, truth be told, if it wasn't for this group brother and some of the group, I might not read as much either. Okay, I read when I'm looking for something, but I know pretty much how to look for it. You know, to be able to parse through Google. Wikipedia is always when I taught, I said, look, if you give me this short report, Wikipedia is the last reference. Don't go there. But anyway, what's your view? Anyone have anything else to say? And, oh, by the way, because time is ticking. Oh, you sent over again. I forgot it. She's here. If you look at that one, in particular the one right here, if you look at it closely, well, what can you see from where you're sitting?
I see a image of an African sister with a turban on.
Turban or Gaelic. How many people are in there? And that's going to be a little difficult. But if you want, how many people do you see?
I see two right from here.
You see two. Well, you should look again.
I'm up to 5.
That's how my 5 people? Wait a minute.
That's like a Rorschach test.
Give me some of that. No.
The Greek terminology for ISIS was all set. And then everybody knows Horus, Horus, Haru. That's the Holy Trinity and interconnected spirituality.
All right.